Hi there, this is David and welcome to all the mainline Sony consoles and handhelds ranked. Here, I'm going to be looking at all the Sony consoles and ranking them according to the quality of their releases. I'm a huge fan of RPGs, so of course that's going to be the main factor that I'm going to be looking at. While I did grow up with Nintendo, Sony stole my heart in the mid-90s whenever Nintendo kind of went off to their own N64 thing, and Sony continued the legacy of the SNES with their great RPG offerings. So I can't wait to share with you my experiences with the consoles, or lack thereof. So let's go ahead and get started, going from worst to best. Number 6. The PlayStation Vita, released in February of 2012. As a big fan of portable gaming, it really does pain me to list this system here dead last, but Sony has no one but themselves to blame for it. The astronomical price combined with the memory card issue doomed the Vita from the start, but Sony didn't exactly help matters either with all of their support. I purchased mine off eBay, secondhand, because I'm a cheap bitch. I'm not going to pay full price for a system whenever I really only wanted about 5 games for it. There was the beautiful memories of Celceta, and of course, Persona 4 the Golden. But what put it over the edge for me was whenever Namco announced the remakes of the Triverse games that were never released before in America. Once Tales of Hearts came out, I bought the Vita immediately. However, Namco reneged on their promise and Innocence languished in Japan, while Tempest just never saw the light of day. This system could have been gold if Sony just gave a damn, but unfortunately, they didn't. Number 5. The PlayStation 3, released in November of 2006. When the HD Twins came out, I was thrilled for what was in store for JRPGs. They were so prolific on the Sony systems that it just seemed like the sky was the limit, but my dreams were shattered whenever nothing really came of it. I remember being so excited for Final Fantasy XIII, only to be horribly let down by what everybody called the hallway simulator. Then Square actually came out in an interview and said that it's too hard to make towns in HD. I was devastated. I thought that the genre really had died. But then slowly the Tales series single-handedly saved this console from the dumpster fire of history with their awesome releases of the Xillia Duology, Graces F, and Symphonia Chronicles. They proved to me that Square was just lazy liars who would rather spend their time perfecting hair physics than actually making a decent game. Though I must say that they did redeem themselves with Final Fantasy XIII too. Then, as the console was waning, the absolutely brilliant Ni no Kuni was released, which restored my faith in Sony. Number 4. The PlayStation 4, released in November of 2013. I'll be the first to admit that I enjoy retro gaming much more than modern gaming. In fact, I've gotten to the point where I really don't even want to buy new consoles anymore, but many developers seem to know that people like me are out there. I no longer chase every single JRPG ever released like I used to. Instead, I only purchase games that I know that I'll like. And the PlayStation 4 is surprisingly nice in that regard. The Mana remakes are top-notch and really scratch my nostalgia itch, as does Dragon Quest XI, one of the best releases in my favorite series. Then there's the Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is probably as close to a modern-day Dragon Quest game as we'll ever get. The Tales games haven't been as prolific on this system as they have in the past, but Berseria is still great, and I'm holding out hope that Arise will be released on the PlayStation 4 as well. There's also been a resurgence in some really niche titles on the system that were solely lacking on the PlayStation 3, so Sony really has redeemed themselves in my eyes recently. Number 3. The PSP, released in March of 2005. The PSP was definitely a pleasant surprise for me. I remember at the time that it came out, everybody just said that it was a port machine, but I have found that to not be the case. Yeah, I mean, there are some ports like Final Fantasy 1 through 4 and the vast majority of the E series, but there were also tons of unique offerings, even in the aforementioned ported series, such as the fun yet tragic Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which told the story of Zack. Then there was also the revolutionary E7, which signified a quantum leap to the historical series. Not only that, but the PSP introduced me to the amazing Trails series with the Gag-Harv trilogy, as well as Trails in the Sky, which hooked me from the start. Then there's the completely unique offerings, such as Peuple de Croix, one of my favorite games of all time. It's an amalgamation of Earthbound and Lunar, taking the best parts of each and combining them into one fun experience. There's even other unique turn-based offerings, such as Brave Story New Traveler and Hexus Force, which are both fantastic games. And there's a Wild Arms tactical spin-off in Wild Arms XF. The system is just the gift that keeps on giving. Number 2, the PlayStation 1, released in September of 1995. This was my very first non-Nintendo console, and as the new kid in town following in the footsteps of the amazing SNES, Sony had a lot to prove to me. When Square jumped ship after the Super Mario RPG debacle, I decided to follow them because RPGs. Enix was only a faint glimmer in my eyes since they left the American market, so Square was really the only player in town, and boy did they deliver. The PS1 came through as a worthy successor to the SNES, with 3 mainline Final Fantasies, ports of their SNES classics, and the wonderful Final Fantasy Tactics. Enix saw the market potential and returned with a vengeance with offerings like Star Ocean 2, Valkyrie Profile, and Dragon Warrior 7. Working Designs was even getting in on the game with ports of previous Sega exclusives like the Lunar series and Grandia. Then we got absolute gems like Guardians Crusade, The Legend of Legaia, and the Sony exclusive Wild Arms and Legend of Dragoon. This system was an RPG lover's dream, and to quote one of the greats, Sony was definitely delivering what Nintendo don't. And number 1, the PlayStation 2, released in October of 2000. After having loved the original PlayStation, buying the PS2 was a no-brainer for me, especially since it introduced backwards compatibility, something that Nintendo didn't really do. All of the great offerings on the PlayStation 1 were just expanded tenfold. The Wild Arms series grew and evolved with the Hex battle system. Final Fantasy began to spread their wings and fly away from their roots. Dragon Quest VIII was everything that I always dreamed a Dragon Quest game would be, and the Tales series grew from just being okay to being one of my absolute favorite series of all time with the amazing Tales of the Abyss. I even grew to love some other series that were introduced to me at this time, like Atelier Iris and Mana Khemia. Though I must say that now, the mainline offerings are just sleep-inducing. Shadow Hearts introduced a horror and humor element to the genre that was previously missing, and speaking of that, this was the system that really sold me on the SMT franchise, which I had previously heard of and hated on the PlayStation 1. However, the PlayStation 2 offerings are some of the best. Well, that's it for ranking the Sony consoles from worst to best. Do you agree or disagree? Please let me know in the comments, and be on the lookout for further console rankings. If you like this video and what I do here on the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon for exclusive videos and early access to my content, or coming on over to my Discord to chat and hang out. The links to them both can be found in the video description. This has been David. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.